From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
This Wednesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford at the studio this morning. We're going to look at some SEC win totals from a gambling perspective. Those coming out yesterday via FD Sportsbook. So we'll look at all 14 schools with that here in the opening of the show. We're also having an extended conversation with Mike Clement, the Ole Miss assistant baseball coach, the hitting coach, helps with recruiting, obviously, who turned down an offer from Texas A&M to take the same position with the Aggies last week. We discussed that a little bit. We talk a lot of kind of players still on the roster for next year. We talk a lot about this past year, and then we also talk a good bit about Jerry Neely and John Rice Plumlee and how you kind of handle the two-sport deal between those football, baseball guys and some other assorted topics as that lengthy interview that goes a little over 40 minutes goes on today as we get into the show a little bit. A show brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. You know about the daiquiris and lunch specials and the ribs, but we've been telling you about the You Gotta Believe football camp. It's coming to Jackson July 8th and 9th. You can register for that if you're a coach, if you're a parent, however you'd like to get your players involved as they are connected to you. You can do that at that website. Just hit the register button and sign them up. A lot of NFL players, a lot of former Ole Miss players participating in that camp, helping be the counselors, from Dante Moncrief to Mike Hilton, Chad Kelly, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Jordan Tamu. So a lot of guys there involved. So take advantage of that, again, at ygbfootball.org. And, again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's really that simple. No haggling, right to the bottom line. You can use that as a baseline moving forward, or you can do what I've done and get yourself into a Clark Ford, and you'll be thrilled that you did, because not only do you get a great product, you get great service. For example, I needed an oil change and a tire rotation yesterday. I really didn't have time to take my truck to Amory. They'd sold another vehicle up here. They just brought me a loaner and took mine in, and I'll get mine back today. And not everybody does that kind of stuff. Corey does. He wants to be your truck guy. He wants to be your car guy. He'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900 at the end of your deal. Tell Corey that you heard about Clark Ford on the podcast, and you'll save $500 off your already great bottom line.
I haven't looked at schedules and different things for all these teams. I will say, however, for the Ole Miss one, that's about perfect. The Ole Miss sitting there, they are tied with Vanderbilt for the lowest expected win total in the league per these. And again, I guess expected win total is not the word. It's trying to get money in certain places, different things. But from perception standpoint, in about the right spot. Ole Miss and Vanderbilt both sitting here at 5 wins. And we look at Ole Miss, you've got two gimmies. You got Southeastern Louisiana, you got New Mexico State, and then you got, at least on paper, 4 coin flips prior to getting into the tougher part of the schedule. So, Neal, I think that when you look at it, 5 wins, I know you had done some prediction stuff in 10 Thoughts. I think I told you that I was kind of sitting there at 5.5 trying to figure out what I was thinking in my head. 5 is about perfect for the Rebels.
Yeah, but I'd go over if you made me bet on 5 wins.
I would be really scared of the under. You know what I mean? That it's push or over is kind of what I feel like in my head, I guess is the point.
Right.
The 4 would scare me.
Yeah, I mean, from a betting standpoint, they've got it about right, I think. I think if I were putting the line on
You'd go another half point.
I'd go 5.5, and I think I'd get even money, and I'd make my juice if I'm running a.
Yeah, you put the 5 in the under category, and suddenly you got a little different game going on.
But at 5 wins, yeah, I mean, if you told me I couldn't push, I had to go one way or the other, I'd go over. I see 6 before I see 4. 4's a bad season. I don't think this is going to be a
2-2 in coin flips and then nothing else.
Right.
You never have a day.
Yeah, you don't have a day. But I mean, when people say, "Can you see 5 and 7?" Yeah, sure, I can easily easily draw a scenario for 5 and 7. No problem. It's simple. In fact, it's why it's the best line. It's the easiest scenario to draw, frankly. You beat Memphis or Arkansas. You beat
Vandy or Cal.
You beat Southeastern Louisiana.
You beat New Mexico State, and you just beat somebody.
And you have a day.
Yeah.
Or you win one of the others.
Yeah, it's not played on paper. Normally, every team has a day.
Yeah.
So,
if I can start doing some ors, well, now I can get to 5 pretty easily. Now I can get to 4, but it's harder to get. And then I can get to 6. Anything other than, in my opinion, I can get you to 7 without going crazy. Anything over 7 is red and blue glasses, and anything under 4, and you're pretty much predicting catastrophe.
you know, what's funny about it is they're even on the numbers. However, when I look at Ole Miss, I get them over much easier than I get Vanderbilt over. I look at Vanderbilt's schedule here, and I just don't even see 5. I think I would go under on Vanderbilt, even though, again, that's such a bad season because you just don't beat anybody. You know what I mean? But they open with Georgia. They go to Purdue. They play LSU, so they're 0-3 before they ever get a game they can win. They play Northern Illinois, so that's a win. They play Ole Miss. Huge swing game here for them, for Vanderbilt. You always look at it from the Ole Miss side, but look at it for the Vanderbilt side because they have UNLV right after that. If you could beat Ole Miss, suddenly they're 3-3, and they kind of salvage that opener a little bit. Whereas if you lose it and you're 2-4, I don't see much else left on your schedule whatsoever because then you're Missouri, South Carolina, Florida, Kentucky, East Tennessee State, Tennessee.
Although they've beaten Tennessee
They have, I know.
pretty handily the last
I do think
years.
Tennessee's better. Good? Don't know. Better.
Yeah, I guess.
Pruitt, we've been giving Pruitt a lot of crap. He's done a pretty good job.
He's recruiting really well.
Yeah, which they've always recruit well, though. That's
Yeah.
never the problem. They've done a nice job.
Yeah, I think so. I think Tennessee shows some improvement.
But if you told me to predict Vanderbilt, that's 1. That's 2. I'm at 3 way before I'm at 6.
Oh, there's no doubt. So what was their over-under?
5.
Yeah, I'd go under.
It's an under.
Okay.
Because it's not an over, ever.
No, it's hard for me to get them to 6 wins, right, for sure. Because I think the East is just better. They're going to have a hard time winning games. And then they typically lose to Ole Miss when they play here. It's become a home game.
Both teams just win their home games.
Yeah, and it's, for Ole Miss, man, it's one of those things you got to fix.
Got to beat Vanderbilt.
Got to beat. Truth is, for Ole Miss to maximize, you've got to beat Vanderbilt, you got to beat Mississippi State, and you got to beat Arkansas.
That's 7, and then you play from there.
And then, yeah.
Or 6, depending on who your other Power 5 is, obviously.
Well, and frankly, if I'm Ole Miss, I don't.
Let's schedule some Power 5s we can beat.
I do. I mean, I'm not. Here's the thing: until you get to the, let me do it here, so no one gets upset at me.
Yeah.
Until you become a national contender.
But even then, you're in the SEC. Why are you putting an extra loss on your schedule?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're in Alabama or something, you can afford one of those games, and if you lose it, you have plenty of time to recover. But no, I mean, if I'm Ole Miss, I don't schedule losable Power 5 games.
South Carolina sitting at 6, Kentucky at 6, Arkansas at 6. All 3.
Well, I like the under on Arkansas as I look at my Arkansas season ticket cup.
What do we got?
Portland State's a win. They go to Ole Miss. Colorado State, I'm assuming, is a win. San Jose State's a win. So that's 3 wins that I can look at and go, W.
Yep.
Texas A&M in Arlington. At Kentucky. Auburn at home. At Alabama, no. Mississippi State at home's winnable.
Maybe, yeah.
It's winnable. Western Kentucky's a win.
Yeah, they have a crap non-conference. It's 4-0.
Yeah. At LSU. And Missouri and Little Rock to finish the season. And that's
Take Kentucky and Ole Miss to get to 6.
Yeah, so to get to 6, you got to beat Portland State.
You're 4-0. Again, they don't have a Power 5 because Michigan pulled out on them. They've got 4 cupcakes.
So you got 4 cupcakes. You got to beat Ole Miss. And
You got to beat State or Kentucky.
And you probably got to beat State because I don't know that you're going to Lexington and winning. I think he's built a good program where they're not going to lose.
Even though they lose Benny and the.
Yeah, but he's got players.
Yeah. It's fair.
So I go under on Arkansas. Who are the other two?
All right, we got South Carolina, North Carolina, and Charlotte
Win.
to open the year.
They're winning.
Charleston Southern,
It's a win.
Alabama,
It's not a win.
Missouri and Como,
It's a loss.
Kentucky and Columbia,
It's a win.
Georgia and Athens,
Nope.
Florida and Columbia,
There's your swinger.
Tennessee and Knoxville.
It's going to be
Another
tough,
swinger,
too.
but tough game. Vanderbilt and Columbia.
It's a win.
You got to win that one. App State,
Win.
A&M and College Station,
It's going to be tough.
and Clemson and Columbia.
Nope. Ooh.
Tough schedule.
Not betting that game. Not betting the Gamecocks.
I'm out on that one. I wouldn't necessarily like the under either, just because there is a lot of swing stuff in there. But I think that's just a stay away.
Yeah.
I think Carolina's a stay away. I don't have any interest in them either way with this. Let's see.
A lot of swinging with the Cocks. Is that what we're saying?
With the Cocks. Yes.
Yep.
Speaking of, Jay got back helping. all good.
Yeah, all good. I have not
right.
spoken to him, but I have texted with him.
Okay. Kentucky also at 6 wins. You've got Eastern Michigan University.
One.
That is a win against the Eagles.
Yeah, it's one.
The University of Florida in Lexington.
Maybe.
Okay. Mississippi State University in Starkville.
Maybe.
I don't know why Kentucky does this. They have the full names of the universities on their football schedule. It doesn't just say Mississippi State. It says Mississippi State
It's
University.
cute. It's probably something they do, like Ole Miss on the yellow boards,
Okay, fine.
which I'm sure people look at and go, why do they do that on a yellow board?
Because they've always done it.
Because they've always done it on a yellow board. It became a tradition somehow.
All right. Florida State, South Carolina and Columbia. Arkansas and Lexington, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Georgia and Athens. Missouri and Lexington.
And their schedule's hard.
Tennessee and Lexington. Vanderbilt, UT Martin, and Louisville.
I think they get 2 at the end.
All right, let me do this again. 1, 2. They start 2-0. Toledo and Eastern Michigan.
And then there's not another gimme until I'm giving them Arkansas. It's 3.
They could get the last 3 because I don't think Louisville's great. I think they could get Vanderbilt, UT Martin, and Louisville to close. So that's 5.
Yeah.
So then you got to find 2 more. And out of those 2 more, you're looking at maybe Florida, but probably not. State and Starkville, theoretically.
Sure.
Arkansas and Lexington.
I'm going to tell you the under
ones
that I love. We're going to get to it in a little while. I love the under
Yeah,
on
lock it in.
I love the under on Mississippi
Yeah,
State.
lock that one in. But Kentucky's probably a stay away to.
That's
I think I'm an under if I'm picking, but I think it's a stay away.
Vegas is good.
Well, yeah, there's not a lot of gimmies on here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you mentioned one, but we'll get to that in a minute. Tennessee sitting at 6.5 for theirs.
Ooh.
So you got to get them to 7 if you go over. They're going to start 3-0. Well, I'm assuming they start 3-0. They've got Georgia State, and then they play BYU, who I know nothing about, and then they play Chattanooga.
3 wins.
Have a huge game here, or actually, their little next stretch is what's interesting. So let's go 3 wins. At Florida.
Probably a loss.
Georgia at home.
A loss.
State at home. Got to get that one if you're Tennessee.
I think you got to get that one if you're Tennessee.
And then Alabama and Tuscaloosa.
A loss.
South Carolina in Knoxville.
Probably have to win it to get where we're trying to get them.
UAB in Knoxville.
It's a win.
At Kentucky.
It's winnable.
At Missouri. Probably not winning that one. And Vanderbilt at home.
Got to win that one.
So 1.
We
2.
got them to 7 right there.
Did we?
Yeah.
But now that's
that's
twice going, hey, you got to win this one to get where we're going.
and that's believing in the Vols.
That's really believing in
And
the Vols.
the Vols haven't done anything lately to make me believe in them.
So are you a no there?
I'm probably an under there.
You're an under.
I'm under. I just don't like them. They don't do anything for me.
As a university, really.
Yeah. I was there back in the summer. Last summer. Yeah. It's all right.
Nothing crazy.
Nothing. No, it doesn't do much for me.
6.5.
It's a long way there, too.
It is 6.5 as well. The Missouri Tigers.
I like the over
I
here.
think we're over here.
I like the over here. I'm bullish on Mizzou.
All right, we're gonna go through it. We got Wyoming to open.
Win.
It's a W.
It's a win.
West Virginia in Como. Big game.
Huge game.
Just a huge one.
Yeah, could go either way. West Virginia going through a transition, though, so I kind of like Missouri.
Here's what I like about Missouri's schedule: is they open in Laramie, they're going to win on the road. They get 4 in a row at home after that.
Okay.
Sorry, they get 5 in a row at home after that. Here's the 5.
All right.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Southeast Missouri.
W.
South Carolina, Troy, Ole Miss.
W.
They could be 6-0.
Yeah.
When they have to go on the road to Vanderbilt.
7-0. What? Missouri.
This schedule.
They could be top 5 in the country.
This schedule sets up. Well, and okay, let me run through this a little bit for you.
Okay.
There's some schedules where we go, hey, we don't really like this team. Love this schedule. Still, okay. Vanderbilt in Nashville, Kentucky next in Lexington. It's winnable.
Very winnable.
Winnable.
Sure.
Now you're going to go to Athens and get your head beat in.
Sure.
It's fine.
But that's potentially 8-1.
Florida and Tennessee at home after this.
And I think they win both of those games.
And then close in Little Rock.
And that should be a win.
There is a path to 11-1 for the Tigers.
Oh, and 11-1, potentially, depending on what happens with Georgia, could get you to Atlanta to get drummed by Alabama.
Now, again, am I predicting Missouri to go 11-1? No.
I'm going to tell you
I'm
this.
predicting them to go 9-3.
I have talked to football people who love them.
I'm predicting 9-3 for the Missouri
That's
Tigers.
probably about right.
That's an easy over 6.5.
Finish the season in one of the little Florida bowls. And
Hey, you're cooking.
yeah, sure.
Texas A&M is coming up. They are at 7.5. We're getting into a little more of the meat here. 7.5 for the Aggies. Everybody on the Jimbo train, I guess, for this one. And we have got Utah State.
I think Ross is going to get him one of those kind of maroon blazers.
I know he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Maroon blazers. Cowboy boots. Says howdy.
He's going to have to start saying howdy.
Oh, he's definitely saying howdy.
Yeah.
For something that's not been heard yet, you will soon. Next, in about a week and a half, yeah. I broached the howdy conversation.
You had some fun with that?
I did, yeah.
Was he amused?
Yeah, he's fine. Handled it well.
Yeah.
Texas State to open.
It's a win.
Let's do it this way. Texas State, your non-conference. Let's do it this way. Texas State, Lamar, Clemson, and UT San Antonio. It's 3-1.
3-1.
All right. Then we've got Auburn in College Station.
I think that's a win.
Shot.
I think it's a win.
Arkansas and Arlington.
It's a win.
Alabama. It's
Nope.
a loss. State in College Station.
Win.
That's a win. Ole Miss and Oxford.
I think it's a win.
South Carolina in College Station. Got a shot.
It's probably a win.
Georgia and Athens. That's a loss.
It's a loss.
LSU and Baton Rouge.
Ooh.
Could go 9-3.
They could.
There's a 9-3, 8-4. That's an over for me on A&M.
Yeah, I
over
think I'm
7.5.
I think I'm over.
I feel pretty good about over 7.5. With
No one can say their schedule's bad. When you play Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia in the same season,
good luck.
Whatever bowl you get, you earned.
Yeah, it feels 8-4. They're going to lose another one after that. They're not going to go. That's why 7-5 is interesting because
Well,
you could lose 2 more.
Baton Rouge could be tough by then.
Yeah. But I feel maybe over on that one. All right, Auburn is at 8. We got 8 for Auburn.
My initial thought is under.
Me too. Their non-con is Oregon in Arlington to open the year. Justin Herbert.
God, what a big game.
Yeah, Justin Herbert back for the Ducks.
What time's that game? We might be back from Memphis in time to.
Is it 6:30 p.m.?
Got a chance?
Yeah. Oregon, Tulane, Kent State, and Samford. So 3-1.
3-1. Potentially 3 in a toss.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not giving a Pac-12 team I'm not doing a gimme over an SEC team. It just doesn't. It typically doesn't work like that.
No, you're right. Okay, so then we've got, let's see, they open, and they're going to open, if they beat Oregon, they'll open 3-0, and then they'll go to College Station.
It's a loss.
And then they will play State at home.
They damn near better win it. Yeah.
Florida and Arkansas back-to-back, Gainesville, Fayetteville.
Loss, win.
Okay. LSU, Ole Miss.
I will say this.
Yep.
Here's what's interesting about Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Malzahn has lost his parachute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's going to make a ton of money. I get the money. He's going to fret not if you're worried about his ability to pay the bills. But his ability to hang on to that job, and they're probably going with the freshman quarterback, it could get unhinged quickly there. And at Auburn, and I've covered Auburn,
Once the ball starts rolling down the hill, you're not stopping.
Yeah, it turns into a rolling ball.
Well, I mean, we can play that scenario. They lose to Oregon. They scuffle a little against Tulane. Don't act like that's not possible.
Right.
They beat Kent State, and then they lose to A&M.
Yeah.
Say they lose to State. That's it.
It's over.
That's it right there.
At that point, every other game on their schedule, including Fayetteville, Oxford, those kind of games, those kind of games become losable
and you still
football
got Georgia
games.
and Bama on the schedule. I mean, this is an under. I do not believe in Auburn anywhere near enough to go over on this line.
Right.
8.5.
It's why when people say, when I said 7-5, people say you're crazy. Ole Miss is the opposite of what we just said with Auburn. Now, I can paint and have done a disaster scenario for Ole Miss that is not unrealistic. I can also paint that one that, hey, you know what? You beat Memphis, you beat Arkansas, you beat Southeastern Louisiana, you beat Cal, you go lose to Alabama, and you beat Vanderbilt.
5-1 when New Mexico State's still on the schedule.
Well, but you start going into those other games, like you go to Auburn and you're playing with house money, and you might
a team
might play a team that's it's chaos.
Mississippi State 8.5
Under
non-cons, ULL and New Orleans.
It's a win.
Southern Miss and Starkville.
It's a win.
Kansas State and Starkville.
Probably a win.
Biggest game on their schedule Kentucky at home the next week. Do they get to 4-0 is the question.
Maybe.
Auburn on the road, I think it's a loss.
I think it's a loss. So right now we're giving them 4-1.
Tennessee in Knoxville.
Well, earlier we said that was you talk about a huge game.
Yeah.
4-2.
LSU in Starkville.
4-3.
College Station.
4-4.
Fayetteville.
Probably 5-4, but
Alabama.
5-5.
Abilene Christian and Ole Miss. Not getting anywhere near 8.5.
No, I mean, we got them to 7 right there, and that's giving them a couple.
That was giving them a couple. So way under on State. That is my over of the day is Missouri, and my under of the day is Mississippi State.
So I'm with you.
That's just what this is. I feel great about those two picks as we go into this, and I don't think I'm going to feel either way, positively or negatively, about the teams remaining just because the numbers are so high. Let's see. LSU is up next. LSU's football schedule is here, and LSU's over-under is 9, as well as Florida. LSU and Florida both at 9.
And I think that's about right for both of them.
So we have got Georgia Southern, Texas, Northwestern State, and Utah State. So depending on the Texas game, we're 3 or 4.
Where's the Texas game?
The Texas game is in
Austin, isn't it?
Royal Texas Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
3-1 or 4-0 through the non-cons.
I'm going to say 4-0.
Okay. Then they get Vanderbilt. That's 5. They get Florida in Tiger Stadium.
Toss.
They get State at Davis Wade.
Win.
They get Auburn in Tiger Stadium.
Win.
They get Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
L.
Ole Miss in Oxford.
It's probably a win.
Arkansas in Baton Rouge.
A win.
And A&M in Baton Rouge.
I like the over on LSU.
You like 10-2 for the Tigers.
I do.
You got to get them to 10-2 to get over.
I'm aware.
Okay. All right. That's a stay away.
The problem with them,
9-3, so
the problem with them is the schedule says 10-2, but Orgeron's going to lose a game.
Yes. So I'm out.
But I'm not wanting to go under on that.
I don't want to go 8-4 on them either.
Because
who's their quarterback? I know that never matters, but who is it?
I'm not sure. Is the kid back from last year?
I didn't think so. He's not, is he?
I don't know.
Florida, 9 wins. We have got opening against Miami and Orlando.
That's a win.
UT Martin.
W, of course.
Towson.
Who?
Towson.
Okay.
And Florida State.
4-0.
4-0. Then we've got Kentucky.
God, Florida State's fallen off the map, haven't they?
Kentucky and Lexington.
Probably it's a toss.
Tennessee at home.
Win.
Auburn at home.
Win.
LSU and Baton Rouge. Toss.
Probably a toss. So we've now got him with one loss.
Carolina in Columbia.
Win.
Georgia somewhere. Jacksonville.
Probably a loss.
Vanderbilt at home.
Win.
At Como.
Oof.
That's it. That's your schedule.
Vegas is good,
I'm not
man.
going 10-2.
No.
I'm not going 10-2.
If you made me go over or under, I'd go under. If passing wasn't an option, I'd go under.
That's a pass, though. You don't have to bet on every game.
No, I don't.
Every team.
Only Jeffrey has to bet on every
And
game.
Jeffrey has to bet on every team. If there's a line, you must take it. Right?
Yes.
Isn't
yes.
that
that's the rule.
Isn't that the rule? If there is a line, you must take it. Let's see. Okay, I hate how Georgia does their website, but that's neither here nor there. Georgia 11 wins. Over under.
Well, I mean, your initial reaction to that is under.
Okay, let me pick out games that are losable because there's no reason to go through all this. Notre Dame and Athens, they're going to win.
They're winning.
Whatever.
They suck.
Could they lose to Florida and Jacksonville?
I guess it's conceivable,
but
not likely.
That's all I got, bud.
Well, there's a reason that the number's as high as it is.
Again, we're not going to analyze this. Vanderbilt, Murray State, Arkansas State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, Auburn, A&M, Georgia Tech. Auburn at Auburn is a conceivable game.
Depending on what's happening with the Tigers. Yeah.
If Auburn's in decent shape, then
history says that becomes a losable game.
Could you ever take the over, though, to go 12-0?
Depends on what kind of line I'd get.
Okay. Just asking. And then Alabama to close.
What's their over-under, like 17?
It's 11 as well.
Oh, it's only 11.
It's only 11.
I'm not betting under.
Duke, New Mexico State, South Carolina, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, A&M, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, State, Western Carolina, Auburn.
I'm going over.
12-0.
Yep.
Tide going 12-0. You heard it here first. So, I think, though, from a strictly betting standpoint, I'm going to ride hard Missouri and Mississippi State and then throw a little others on some other ones. Shut up. Shut up.
Swingers, cocks, and riding hard.
I'll get to that.
Yep.
That's where we're at. So
it's a family-friendly show.
It is. We'll probably do this 10 more times prior to the season because that's what summer podcasts are for. But
it's just June, man.
There's your early betting lines. We'll go to Mike Clement in just a second.
We would be in Mobile before you do it. We'd be in Mobile, and it'd be June, and they'd come in the programming people. We need more football, and it's like, guys, man, I can't. This was before Alabama was a behemoth. Like, there's only so many times I can preview this season. I don't. What do you want us to do? Well, I don't want you getting Dustin Diamond on the show anymore. I'm like, did you see the phones?
People. Fun.
I guess I look back and
there were signs.
There were some signs that it was not going to end well.
Yeah. Podcast brought to you in part by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, premium lawn care throughout northern Mississippi, but a lot more as well, from custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, outdoor living spaces, paver patios, forestry mulching, and much more. The path to your dream backyard, easier than you think with Mastercuts. That is a free quote at 662-607-7773 or go mastercuts.com.
Guest will join us, Mike Clement, and others will join us on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law. They specialize in personal injury law, real estate law, but there's a general practice. They can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who handles your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. Give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free. Don't want to miss out. Speaking of football, you don't want to miss 1 minute of the action at the Vault this season as Ole Miss football arrives this September. Reserve your season tickets with the new 2019 season ticket pricing for just $299. For more information, visit OleMissTix.com. That's OleMissTix.com. Podcast also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust based in Madison, Mississippi. It represents clients in more than 20 states. It has advisors in 3 states. Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan that is built just for you. PinTrust.com, P-I-N-N Trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. My mailbag will be up later today. It's mostly done. It is sponsored by the Westin Jackson. Westin Jackson is home to Soul Spa, the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson, where you can indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. And then you can head over to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro, sip on a creative craft cocktail, or enjoy their curated wine list, or both, frankly. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's offerings are terrific. You'll love them, so gather at Estelle tonight.
Now we'll go to Mike Clement on the Patterson-Earhart hotline. Mike, appreciate the time today. Joining us, I guess first off, it's good to still see you. You're still sitting in your chair, still here behind the desk after the last couple of weeks and going on. And, just in every profession, life and everybody trying to do the best for themselves and their family and having those decisions and different things, how are they different from a coach from maybe a different occupation or something? Or is it all pretty much the same no matter what you do?
Well, I haven't done another profession or occupation.
Good point.
So I can't necessarily speak to that, but I think the difference is probably it's just a little more in the public eye. And so, when news breaks, which I expect it to, people like you or the national guys or whoever it is are just doing their job. And I never take offense to that. But then you're going to get a lot of text messages, whether on a lot of different levels, from friends to our players, to the national guys and all of those things. So, it's obviously, as a young coach, I've told people this over the last couple of weeks, you see all the tweets and the message boards, and you're like, man, I would love to be in the conversation of that. And then when you get in that conversation, you're like, I want out of this as quickly as I can. So it's uncomfortable, especially for me, because of the people that are involved and the loyalty I have to those people, and how much those people have been in my corner. It makes it a little more difficult, but it's also the nature of the business, and decisions have to be made, and you have to do what's best for you and I guess your career and all of those things. But also for me, it's hard to take out the loyalty to this program, to Mike, and to our players. And we had a great year, and I think we have really good momentum moving forward after the last couple of years, and how 90 wins or 89 wins over the last couple of years, and an SEC tournament championship and another final, and win the West, and host 2 regionals, make it to a Super Regional, all the things everybody knows. It's hard to leave this place.
And your wife's been around the block enough to know, you don't want to be too nomadic, but you always know, hey, you never know, and it is the nature of the lifestyle in a lot of ways, isn't it?
No question. My wife hates this time of year,
okay.
And she would just as soon it not happen.
Hey, have you signed that contract? What's up?
Oxford's a great place to raise a family. You know that. We've talked about it a number of times, on and off the record, and my wife believes that. She's from Texas, went to Texas A&M, and loves this place. And so she's thrilled. She's thrilled to be here, and she's the coach of a wife of a coach, though, and she understands how everything works. But we're thrilled to be here, full steam ahead with Ole Miss, and thrilled about it.
Yeah, the public perception when all that stuff came up, they said, hey, I think his wife's man. It was like, everybody's like, oh, he's out of here. It's gone. It's like whatever. It's like, yeah, that's playing a role in this thing.
Yeah, and she is like a lot of Aggies that they drink that maroon Kool-Aid, and it is a weird deal. And she is right there with them. So her diploma will continue to stay up in our guest room, and
it's in the guest room?
Yeah, guest room upstairs. Okay. People walk in. We can't have a bunch of Aggie stuff hanging from the walls. A division opponent. So no, but she's thrilled to be here, and it's funny. A lot of people would think she would pull that way, but for a lot of different personal reasons with doctors and our child and all of those things. And, you get close with the coaches' families, and Cammie and Lauren, and, all of the coaches' wives have been so special to her. And it's really a family here. So,
because you've been here 5 years now. I mean, from a coach and just in general, I mean, that's about as settled in one place as you can be. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that after that period of time.
No question. It's the longest I've ever been anywhere. I spent 4 years at UTSA in San Antonio, and then 3 at A&M, and then 2 at Kansas State. And so most coaching paths go that way. Laughs is a little different, where he's been in one place for a long time, but when you're able to have some stability and some success in one place, and it's a place you love to be, and it's a place you can see yourself winning at the highest level, that you have to pause and you have to think about opportunities. And I don't want to leave here for a place I don't want to sprint to, because we have a chance to do everything a coach would want to do here in Oxford.
You mentioned no other occupations or anything, and I mean, I know Mike, at one point before he got back into coaching after he finished college, he got into like financial planning or something there for a little while. I know Lapp like sold cigarettes or something there at one point. I mean, you come from such a baseball family. I mean, your brother obviously played at a very high level. That dad is a coach and different things. Was there ever anything of what else? I mean, what was sort of that path for you?
No, I went to junior. I was an average player. I went to junior college and played, and then went to the Division II school. And my dad was an educator, so he's a high school baseball coach, but 30 years in the school district. And when I went from junior college to a 4-year school, he said, "What are you going to major in?" And I said, "Well, physical education. That's what I have the most credits in." And he said, "Well, you're going to double major then, because no one's hiring a PE teacher." And so I did. I double majored because he made me. But my degree's in education, and I told him my goal was to never step foot in a classroom. And I had to student teach, and I did substitute teach for a little bit, but never stepped into a classroom full time. And I've coached ever since. And when I got into coaching, selfishly, it was because I wasn't good enough to play anymore, and I was still super competitive and loved to win. And so that's all I really knew. Since then, I think as you get older and hopefully gain a little wisdom, and see the impact that you can make on and off the field, I think it's more slanted towards those things. And I hope our players, past and present, would back me up on that. Hopefully I've just made an impact on them, and that's the reason you do it. And hopefully the wins are a nice byproduct of that.
What was your double major in?
Physical education still, because I had all those credits, and then special education.
Oh, so you stayed just education.
Yes,
it wasn't like,
yes.
hey, I'm doing history
No. I wasn't no finance major or anything like that. But it was physical education, special education. So if coaching doesn't work out, I could still fall back and drop into the classroom if I had to.
So you substitute taught
I did.
Just whatever classes? I mean, just whatever rooms?
I was in the state of Iowa, and so there was only like a month span before I left when I got my degree, and I actually went out to Los Angeles. My brother was a sophomore at Southern Cal, and I went out there and coached high school baseball and did a little bit of substitute teaching just for a short amount of time, and then knew I wanted to get into college coaching. My junior college coach had called me and asked me if I wanted to get in back in Iowa, and so that's when the coaching odyssey started.
What was it like watching him? I mean, obviously you talk about being an average player, but you got that in the house with you. I mean, it's got to be a little deprecating there at some point,
no
doesn't
doubt.
it?
I was talking, with somebody earlier today even, and it's one of those things where you think you're a really good player. And in my house, there's 4 kids, a girl and 3 of us boys. I have an older brother who was an average high school player, and then I was a pretty good high school player and an average college player. And at some point in everyone's life, you realize, maybe I'm not a big leaguer. That happened really young for me because I was like 10 years old, and I'm seeing my 6-year-old little brother who has a better swing than me, and all of that. And I looked over at him and I was like, whoa, I'm not that good. But it was awesome. To this day, we are the best of friends and can bounce a lot of baseball stuff off of him. But played for a long time. I think he's second in career home runs at USC behind Mark McGwire, and was a first rounder, played up into the big leagues for parts of 4 years. So really, really neat for me. I rarely get nervous watching or playing or even coaching baseball, but he was with the Mariners when he got called up, and I can remember recruiting in Texas and staying up late to watch those West Coast games and being really nervous for every single one of his at-bats. So it was thrilling. It was awesome.
Yeah, Neil always talks about his son who's 12 now. He goes, how good is this guy? And Neil's like, well, he's in the major league, so he's the best guy out of his high school, or he's whatever.
No,
you had that in the house with you, so I mean, yeah, that is a little bit of a different angle.
No,
there.
it's cool.
So
it was really, really cool. And we grew up in Iowa, so it's not like we were in the middle of Texas or Florida where there's a bunch of really good players. Like
every right-hander's throwing 96.
He was famous from the time he was 12 all the way through, because there's not a whole lot of big leaguers that come from the state of Iowa. So it was really neat to watch, and the humility with which he showed as he was going through and being a really good player was really neat, and was really proud of him.
Let's jump into this year a little bit. So, I mean, you finish up pretty hot there, get to the postseason, making the Super Regional, and before we started the recording here, we were discussing, you have the bad week at Mississippi State, the first 2 games at Tennessee, the Arkansas State, just kind of sleepwalk night there in Jonesboro, whatever you want to call it. Is that maybe the thing that you do take from this thing, is just them fighting there at the end when it could have gone really poorly and making a successful season out of it?
Yeah, people ask me, man, how long did it take you to get over 2018? I guess 2 years ago now. And my answer to that is always, I'll let you know when I get over it. And I still haven't. I don't know that I ever will. Just, it was the best team I've ever coached, and we had a bad day. All of the things everybody knows and doesn't want to revisit. I take a tremendous amount of pride in the toughness of our players this year. There was a real satisfaction, although you'd love to get those 27 outs back on game 3 of a super regional, being that close to getting to Omaha. There's a lot of satisfaction in the toughness of our players, because you've seen so many times in situations like that late in the year, to get swept by State and then to go to Jonesboro and just, like you said, sleepwalk through it. Then we go straight to Knoxville and lose the first 2 games. It's really easy to, we'll just, back into a regional and be a 2 seed somewhere, and better luck next year. And our guys showed some real toughness. We win a tight game on Sunday in Knoxville, still not even playing our best, and then go and make an incredible run in Hoover, which is really, really hard to do. You've been around SEC baseball for a long time and know that to play on Tuesday in the SEC tournament and get to Sunday is something that doesn't happen very often. And just the toughness our guys showed from that Sunday in Knoxville all the way through I guess it was Monday in Fayetteville. It was a special ride to be on. I'm really proud of the toughness of our players.
Everything that these guys have been through was a little tougher with the goodbyes and stuff for that group. It comes in from that 17 class or the 16 class, 17 when they're building, and then going through 18 and 19. It seems like this group really stabilized this program, really kind of got it back moving in an upward trajectory at a time when, they kind of had to.
No question. That's a really good point. Just the personalities in that group, I'll miss for sure, and it was some dynamic personalities and very different personalities. You know them well just from being around our program day in and day out, but you got the really, really steady guy in Gray Kessinger, who's just the same guy every single day when he comes to the ballpark. It's what made him special. And here's a guy who, I think hit somewhere between 300 and 330 in high school baseball as a senior in high school, which is not a great batting average. And just pride is probably not the right word. I try not to use that word a ton, but how proud I am of him in coming in and hitting under 200 as a freshman, playing every day, and then to be an All-American when he exits this place and lead the SEC in hits as a junior and be the 68th pick of the draft. You have that guy. Then you have the Thomas Dillard. I'm going to miss somebody through here. Dillard is the guy that had the ultimate confidence every single day, whether he was hitting 212 as a freshman or, whatever he was as a junior, and just the confidence with which he showed up with every day. And then you got Cooper Johnson, who fought through so much, in life, but not only in life, but in his snapshot of 3 years here, getting beat out, being an opening day starter every year and getting beat out his first 2 years, and sticking it out, which you don't see in college athletics very often. A guy who is willing to stick it out, a guy who's as high profile as he is. It's too easy to transfer. It's too easy to leave and go be the guy somewhere else. And for him to do what he did this year, and then you got Zebo, just kind of the silent guy who showed up. So just the personalities of that group, and like you said, kind of changed the trajectory of our program. Went from not making a regional in 17 to being a great team in 18 and hosting and being a national seed and winning the West, and then show the grit and the toughness to battle through some ups and downs here in 19 and play one game to go to Omaha. So, proud of that group. I think they've built a culture here with a little different expectation of our program, and they deserve a ton of credit for that.
Quick aside here with Cooper, he obviously taken the 6th round, but a guy who, at least defensively and arm, it's all there to play in the bigs to some level for a long time. What do you think was the hindrance that kind of kept it from being a little bit of a higher pick and a higher prospect?
I think honestly, he had, and he would be the first to say that if he were on the podcast with us. I think he had some immaturity things, especially early in his career here and even into high school, that people wondered about. Anybody that asked me this past year, I would tell them. And this is no slight on any of the other players. If you said, hey, you got to put money on one guy to play in the big leagues for an extended amount of time, I'll pick that guy. Just because I think he has a skill set that very few other humans, like breathing air on Earth, have, and I think he could go catch in the big leagues right now. And he may be a backup right now, but I think he could go catch in the big leagues right now and be a backup for 10 years. I think he's going to get better, and I think that's his floor. If he stays healthy and all the things, the normal things, but I think his ceiling is, to be an everyday guy. I think he's special back there.
Take one more break with Mike to tell you about G&M Pharmacy. They're on South Lamar in Oxford. They deliver local in the Oxford area to your home or workplace. They offer MedSync to make sure they fill your prescription the same day every single month. They take care of all of it at one time, making sure you're on schedule and to make multiple trips to the pharmacy. They do all that for you there because they know you, they care about you. 662-236-2222. You can give them a call. You can transfer your medications. Don't have to stay with the big box pharmacies, if you will. You also can ask about the CBD oil, the sildenafil, and more when you call, or you can request those products online at either TysonDrugs.com or GandMPharmacy.com as well. Again, that's 662-236-2222.
The podcast is also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. He's a big part of Savannah Square. It's a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square, conveniently located east of North Lamar, just a short stroll from the Midtown Shopping Center, which houses Snack Bar and BBB and Jinsei and all of that. Savannah Square will initially consist of 32 standalone detached structures ranging in size from about 1,100 square feet to about 2,400 square feet. The model home available for your inspection. It's located at 215 William Street. These homes have wonderful layouts, impeccable finishes, which you can inspect at the model. So give Harry a call. Take a look at the model, get more information about this great new development while they are still available. You can view more at savannahsquareoxford.com or give Harry a call or text at 662-801-5621.
Now back to Mike Clement.
Does that happen sometimes where first impressions are really hard to kind of knock out for guys growing and maturity of things from a scout standpoint?
Sure. Yeah, I think so because they know so very little. They can only go off of what they see. He went up to the Cape and
had a really rough first Cape summer, attitude-wise.
Played on a couple different teams, came home early, and all things that he would tell you were his fault. And so the way he matured and turned himself around as a leader, I think if you asked anybody on our team, take nothing away from Fitzsimmons, but on the field, who was our leader, I think everyone pointed to that guy. He kind of drove the needle. He was the thermometer of our team and had some great leadership qualities. And so the turnaround he made is great. And even his disappointment on draft day to go to the sixth round, the perspective he had on that when you talked to him after that was, hey, it's just money. Which is incredible for a 21-year-old kid to say, it's just money. I just need the opportunity. I'll go prove myself to the Tigers, and I'll go catch in the big leagues for a long time. And that's where the money's made anyway. For him to have that kind of perspective, I think shows you the leap in maturity that he made over the last 3 years. Just super proud of him.
Because it would be so easy to even look back 3 years ago and go, I've left this much on the table, and had I gone then, I could have gotten more than this, and the whole deal.
No question.
Yeah, I mean, feeling sorry for yourself would be very easy right there.
And I don't know if in a quiet moment he doesn't think that. I've never heard him say that. And in fact, he said the opposite out loud to me. Hey, I never would have made it if I would have signed then. And he has said, my 3 years at Ole Miss are invaluable. He's at least said all the right things. And I think I know the kid and love the kid well enough that if he were sitting in this office behind closed doors, he would tell me the truth. And I think he has told me the truth that he has a better chance to play in the big leagues for a long time because he came to college. And I think, he's one of those guys that makes a decision and never looks back. And I don't think he has.
Mostly want to spin forward more than back. But, you mentioned the Super Regional. He played well through the Regional, ran that in 3 games. And, winning and losing in the postseason is as simple as just playing well that day. I mean, is this as small as that, or is there more to it that has to kind of be in place on those days?
I think if you look at it, from a micro standpoint, you're right. It's playing well on that day, and I think what it comes down to is who can eliminate all the distractions and just make it about baseball. And if you can just make it about baseball, you have a better chance to play well. The hard part is when you're playing at a place with 12,000 people and they're calling the hogs or whatever they do, it makes it tough. The distractions are easy to grab you, but it's just about playing well. And the thing, in 16 we get beaten our own regional, and in 18 we get beaten our own regional. To run through our regional the way we did and play as well as we did was very satisfying for our guys. But I don't think they were satisfied. Like the hurt you could tell on that Monday in Fayetteville was for real. And I think they were really disappointed with the way things ended. But I think the further it gets away from that, I think they'll draw a lot of satisfaction in the run that we made.
They didn't seem tight. They just got beat. I mean, it's just kind of a day.
I think so too. And it's funny. I know that Arkansas was not thrilled to have us as the draw. No, in fact, no one in our dugout had ever lost a series to Arkansas, and we'd give every single one of those back to win one more game in that series. But I think we had ultimate confidence going in there, and I don't think it was an element of we're tight. I think we were loose, ready to play. I think there was ultimate confidence we were going to go in there and win that game. We just didn't.
Obviously, a lot of guys are going to take some new roles on. You lose all those guys you just mentioned. A few guys in the Caves or video and Keenan. When these summer leagues are going on, do you have things that you're able to give to those guys to, hey, work on this and work on that? I mean, is it almost kind of like minor league stuff? Do they go work on stuff with those coaches? How does sort of that work from a development standpoint?
The broad answer to that is, at the end of the year, those guys will come in, especially from an offensive standpoint, and we'll talk about, hey, this is what we got to get better at. Whether it's a guy like Keenan, who has had a ton of success here through 2 years, or it's a guy like Josh Hall, who had 34 at-bats this year, and everybody in between, they come in, and I think the only offensive guy that we don't have going out that's a returner is Knox LaPosser, just because he's banged up at the end of the year. But all of those guys, we talk about specific things that we got to improve on. Each league is a little different. As you know, the Cape is more of a showcase league, for lack of a better term, where, you send guys and they need to showcase their talent. Keenan needs to go do what he does because next year is a draft year. So some of that is personal, and we understand that. Like, as much as it's a two-edged thing. We want him to go get drafted high and all of those things while he helps us go win a national championship. So we understand what that league is, and we want him to go showcase his ability, but there are also things he's got to work on with his game. Same with Servideo. And I think other leagues are more, I guess I would term them developmental. But I think from a coaching standpoint, I coached in the Cape for a couple summers, 15 years ago. Depending on where you send guys, there are some coaches that we really trust, and we talk about, hey, here's the adjustments we're trying to make with guys, if you could help with that. But the hard part from a coaching standpoint is when you have a guy for 2 months, how much can you really do? When we have him for 9 or 10 months, you can really make an impact with it. Hopefully that answers a little bit of what you were asking.
Kevin Graham probably going to hit the middle of your lineup somewhere next year. Gets 10 home runs or whatever it ended up being, and 5 of them there in one little spurt. I know I talked to several people who said the hit tool was going to play, always get hit, but there seemed to be a little bit of surprise that kind of power came that early with him.
Yeah, no question. We always thought that he would hit. And again, with so many guys back, we didn't know where his opportunities would come. But, with a couple guys not having as good a year as what they had or we expected them to have, he got an opportunity and ran with it. And, he was a guy like Keenan or Cockrell the year before that maybe there weren't huge expectations for, and we were able to put towards the bottom of the order. And we could allow him to maybe punch out a little more than what we wanted to because we got production with him hitting the ball out of the yard. To hit 10 home runs as a freshman is really hard to do. Not many people, not just in our program, but in our league, do that as a freshman. And so, he has some things to do too. He needs to be able to, we're going to need him to hit against left-handed pitching this year. We're going to need him to be able to be better against, secondary pitches where we're not going to be able to bury him down in the 7 or 8 hole and just let him get fastballs and turn him around. But yeah, the power production for us to expect with anybody to come in here in year one and hit 10 home runs it's an impressive feat, and we'll expect big things out of him moving forward, like you said, in the middle of our order.
You mentioned LaPosser. We're sort of his receiving guy right now, and you're going to get Hayden Durnhurst in. Obviously, a big deal there. And I thought just to give some competition, where one guy doesn't think, hey, he's the dude. You've got this thing coming in. You've got a heralded prospect coming in. You got Knox to get some experience. Where do you kind of? I know it's crazy early. Where do you kind of see that position in next year?
No, I think we got a good battle on our hands. I really do. Obviously from a guy who helped at least recruit Dunhurst and have coached now Knox for a year. and recruited him. I think, they do two different things. Knox, the right-handed hitter. Dunhurst projects at least more of a middle-of-the-order left-handed bat. I think if I had to compare them right now, having not had Dunhurst yet on campus, Knox is probably a little further along defensively. But Hayden's not too far behind. The thing about Dunhurst that gives you a lot of confidence is he has some things that you can't teach. The arm strength behind the plate, the big power, hitting left-handed, all those things with Dunhurst are things that are really hard to develop and teach. He's just going to have to fine-tune some things, but obviously a big prospect that we had to sweat out all the way, up to and through draft day. But I think we have real good competition, healthy competition at that position. And at that position, as you know, you'd love to have two guys. It's really hard to have the Cooper Johnson where one guy does it all every single day. There aren't many guys like Coop that physically look like Coop that can handle that load every single day. That's hard to do. And most of the time, and Mike has had some incredible catchers through the years, most of the time you at least have somebody to give a guy a break. And I can't tell you who the break guy and who the everyday guy is yet. That's what the competition in the fall and through the winter and early spring is for. But I like the two guys we got.
And they both could hit somewhere.
No
get
question.
Them both somewhere.
Neither one of them is a zero offensively. Dunhurst has a high ceiling offensively, and Knox showed some signs of being a really good hitter too. Heck, he DH for us quite a bit and got more at bats than I thought he may. And had he stayed healthy, probably would have got more at bats. So I think both of them have some real ability with the bat for sure.
You obviously have the ability to get some JUCO help here, Kel Baker, Leatherwood, those guys. When you're evaluating JUCOs, is there, and I know it's kind of a crapshoot, but is there any way to know, hey, this guy potentially is going to transition pretty quickly, or is he going to look like a freshman coming in as well? I mean, what is sort of the intangibles or the tangibles that you look for there?
I think, again, for lack of a better term, the thing you can do with JUCO guys a little better is moneyball them. So what I mean by that is you can kind of look at stats. Now, you can't create every junior college the same, but you can kind of look at stats to know, hey, this guy can transition into it. Leatherwood we've known for a really long time because he's from our area. Went to Vanderbilt for a short stint and then back to Northwest. He's kind of in our backyard. So we've had a ton of looks at him from, probably the time he was a sophomore in high school on. And I think he translates because it's a really short, simple swing, which in our league typically wins. And so, left-handed hitter who has the ability to use the whole field, it's a bad comparison, but think the way Zabowski can use the whole field, but it's a much shorter, simpler swing than that, a little more athletic swing than that. And I think that translates really quickly into our league. There'll be a transition period for sure, but I think that translates with Baker, man. Like he put up stupid video game like numbers in junior college that we would take half of those numbers. I'd write a check right now for half of those numbers, and he would be a really good piece to what we have. But he's a guy that probably has more of a Sykes Orvis type body, but it is, when you watch him hit, and you'll see it this fall, it is an incredibly athletic and short swing. The body doesn't look that way, but it's incredible. I know the first time Laugh went up and watched him, I remember him calling back and saying, hey, I'm amazed that this guy's taking BP like he's a two-hole hitter, like rifling balls to right field, and then he opens it up and hits the ball out of the yard and has a ton of juice. But those guys are really key pieces for us when you have a lot of offensive turnover. I think the one thing that we probably lacked in 2017 when we played all those freshmen was a couple junior college guys to kind of give Thomas Dillard a break or give Zebo a break or Gray a break. We didn't do that. Whereas in 18, instead of just letting Anthony Servideo go in there and hit 200 and play second base every day, we had Jacob Adams, who was a really good piece, who could go in there and had a ton of college at bats under his belt, and that made us win a lot more games.
What do you get out of? What do you sort of feel like you have with Connor Walsh? Sorry, I was athlete and put him a lot of places.
He I think could play all over the field. We're going to give him every chance to play in the middle infield. He is super athletic. I think if there's one thing that he's got to work a little bit on, there's some swing and miss in there. But man, I'm nitpicking. I think he's a guy that if his price to sign would have been a day one, early day two type draft. But wanted to come to school, has some family history at Ole Miss, with his sister going here, and is a top shelf person. He is a great kid, makeup off the charts. I think our fans are going to love him. He's got sort of a combination of like the Servideo base running ability to where he can really open it up and run and is a phenomenal athlete, but also a chance to hit for some power also. So he's kind of one of those dynamic, athletes that doesn't make it to college very often. Now he's got some things he's got to work out, but we're going to give him every chance to win a job in the middle infield. But I think he's a guy that could run out and play center field. I think he could play all over the place for us, and he'll be a really valuable piece to this class.
Yeah, I got his name mixed up. He reminds me so much of Zach Watson that I was kind of having that in my head where I thought he just sort of is all over the place.
It's a really good comparison. Super athlete like that, has some juice, and will do some things on the baseball field that'll make you go, whoa, that's impressive.
Take a break in our talk with Mike. Tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting and understands your market. A leader in condo financing in Oxford. And a little note that the rates are as low as they've been in the last 2 years. So if you've bought or refinanced, maybe time to talk to Jason again, see if he can help you out. Get some of those payments lowered with the lower rates that are going on. You can do that at 662-234-2704 or through email at jlowe@communitymtg.com.
Join the fine people from Blue Delta Jeans this Thursday, June the 27th, from 5 until 9 p.m. at Wonderbird Spirits Distillery. It's a trunk show featuring all of their raw denim, the Holland and Sherry cottons, the new fabrics from their summer collection. Wonderbird is a new gin distillery using jasmine rice grown in the Mississippi Delta. It's 618 County Road 303 in Taylor. The food is served by Chef Mitch McCamey of Neon Pig, music by Kel Kellum. If you want to get more information or you have questions, send the fine people at Blue Delta Jeans an email at info, that's INFO, at bluedeltajeans.com. Podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. I've been following John's trip to Antigua on Instagram. I've caught myself quite jealous on numerous occasions. If you're interested in going to Antigua or someplace like Antigua, from judging the pictures, John sort of knows where to go and how to set you up. And if you'd like to find out more, get in touch with him. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. And then let him give you some options. You're not committed to anything until you commit to something. You get the options for free, and then you can think about it, make a decision. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you are in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Now back to Mike Clement on the Patterson Earhart Hotline.
What do you try to get from a baseball standpoint? Because obviously it's potentially free players for you, all those things. But when we look at, they're going to get here soon with Ely and Plumlee and these two sport guys. Where does baseball sort of factor in with them? Fall, summer, until obviously you get to the spring where you get them a little more. But how does their offseason work from a baseball standpoint?
Yeah, it's tricky because, and even in the recruiting process of those guys, not just to get them here, not to get them to sign, we had mapped out with the football staff. We had sat down in a room and we had mapped out, because the difficult thing for those guys as position players in baseball, that's a tough deal, because you can't just... Very few guys, Seth Smith may have been one of them, can fall out of bed and just hit. Yeah. And it's a really tough transition. So my thing from a hitting coach standpoint is being able to just have dialogue with those guys through the fall and allowing them to use our facility and all of those things. They've got to swing. They've got to be able to hit. And obviously their body has to tell them when they're okay, especially if those guys, if Ely's getting a bunch of reps and he can figure out pass coverage, he's got a chance to get in a lot of packages, I think, over there. Not that I'm a football coach. But same thing with Plumlee. I think he brings a different dynamic on the football field than maybe what they have over there. And, maybe there's some packages for him too. I don't know. But from our standpoint, they've got to be able to be smart about it, to be able to get reps so they're ready to go and compete for a job once January rolls around, once they're done with a bowl game or whatever it is, to come over here and give themselves a chance to do it. But the thing about those guys, they're special athletically, and I think both of them, and it's fun to talk to them because both of them kind of look at you cross-eyed when you talk about all these things because they're like, Coach, I've done this my whole life. Like, it's no different. Why are you making this a big deal?
I've always played 2 sports, 3 sports.
I've always had success in all the sports. I'm used to it being busy, which is a little bit refreshing. I saw Plumlee over here this weekend. I was recruiting, and there were games, and he came over, and I'm telling you, man, that guy, and Ely is too, but just it's fresh in my mind. That guy has a special leadership ability. Like, you know, I think that the thing we miss on the baseball side, because it's so individual, is it is refreshing to see a quarterback come over here and just command a conversation. And I think he's going to walk, him in particular, and again, I don't want to short sell Ely, but him in particular is going to walk in our locker room and have instant respect from our guys just being who he is. Now, I don't know what he's going to do on the field, but it's a special personality. I'm going to tell you, that guy, I bet, can command a huddle over there in the Manning Center.
It seems common sense, but does it help just having 2 of them? Because you do at least have a buddy. You have somebody on the same schedule with you that's trying to do all this stuff in the offseason, different things?
No question. And I think that's huge for those two. I mean, just because they can push each other and, hey, you want to go over there and hit, even if it's 10 o'clock at night or whatever it is. You know, you're not on an island by yourself trying to figure this whole thing out. You know, I think that they can buddy up and be able to come over here. And as silly as it sounds, once January rolls around, they're going to have real knowledge of at least another person in our locker room. Now, our guys are pretty easygoing, and it's a little bit different bunch, and I think they'll accept them with open arms. But you know, from a baseball standpoint, shoot, those are 2, conservatively speaking, top 200 players in the country, maybe 100 players in the country. That football did the lion's share of recruiting, and hey, do you guys want these guys? Yes.
Because it's a tough deal when they call you, go, hey, these guys are free. I know you got the 11.7 and all. We'll handle that. It's all good.
I guess the best way I can say it is both of those guys are baseball scholarship players if they never touched a football. And so for them to be as talented and gifted and whatever as they are on the football field, it's a huge plus for us. Because it could be a whole nother conversation. We all know what the limitations are from a baseball standpoint. So anytime you can get 2 guys not on the 11.7 that are as good as what they are, you're going to take them with open arms.
Kind of last thing to that is you obviously want them to have success, want them to be very understanding of their place in both sports. Is there also, though, the thing of, hey, because they've always been so good at everything, that there are some, hey, managing expectations when you get over here and not need them to, you know, if you're just got one sport, it's so easy to go, hey, I'm going to stick this out. But when you're playing 2, if you're lagging behind one, it'd be kind of easy to drop back, I would think, too. In some
and I think that's real. And we've seen it, you know, whether it's with Sinquez or whether it's Connor Nolan, who pitched against us in the Super Regional, who we beat. I just saw on Twitter yesterday, the day before, that he gave up football, who was a football quarterback at Arkansas and played some as a true freshman, but he gave up football just to do baseball. And I think that's probably easy once you go through a year, whether it's you redshirt in football and you're a freshman All-American in baseball or vice versa. It's probably easy to let those go. But with Coach Luke over there and the commitment he has to allowing those guys to do both, we are going to extend every opportunity, both he and Coach Bianco. I've never seen a head football coach at more baseball games in all my life. Like, he is a true supporter. You know, their family obviously has history in our baseball program. And so we're going to exhaust and give those guys every opportunity to have the highest amount of success, both over there in the fall and over here in the spring.
You mentioned them in passing a second ago. What are sort of the steps? What do you hope to kind of get development-wise out of Bench and Hall as they look for, obviously, full-time jobs?
Yeah, I think those guys are really big. They're off playing summer ball. They need to get as many bats as they can. You know, two separate guys. I really think Bench would have gotten a lot of the bats had he not broke his hand, and, you know, it was a slow process with him coming back from that, and we kind of put him in a tough spot, you know, coming back in, but we had to, it was either, hey, you're going to do the red shirt thing, but we struggled against left-handed pitching. He's a right-handed bat that had a great fall, and so we put him back in there with limited success because he'd been off for so long. But with Bench, I think, like I told you off air, like I think he fits the Will Golson mold. He is a grinder. He is I'm going to play hard every single day. He's highly competitive. I think he's got that kind of ability to be kind of a 300 hitter. Now he's going to have to come. We're going to have some really good competition for him too. But I think he's a guy that I don't know if he's got a leg up on a job, but like has been here for a year, and so I think he's got really good leadership qualities. And so I just see him as the Will Golson-ish mold for us, and I think he can be that kind of player with a really short, simple swing that it's going to be hard to beat, and he's just going to give us a lot of quality at bats. With Hall, he's the guy who, if he hit 260, he may steal 40 bases. I mean, he had 35 at bats and was 10 for 11 in stolen bases, and almost every stolen base he had, everybody in the ballpark knew he was going to try to steal a base. The whole Dave Roberts in 2004, winning the World Series for the Red Sox. Everybody knows he's going to steal the base, and he was 10 for 11. That's how special he is on the bases, but you can't steal first base. So he's the guy who needs to flatten out his swing a little bit, and we try to coach each one of them differently. If he tries to get into the mold of Tyler Keenan, it's going to be a lot of lazy fly balls. We need him to be Josh Hall, and that means make the shortstop move to his right and backhand the ball, and you're probably safe a lot of the time. And so that's where college baseball is a little bit different, and where you're going to coach some guys with the big launch angle and all of those things, and I'm all for it. We've hit 150 home runs the last 2 years. Obviously, I'm all for it, but I'd like that guy to be on base, jogging home in front of the home runs. So, I think both those guys are a little bit different, but both of them, I think have a chance with a little bit of experience this year to be mainstays in our lineup if they go earn it.
You're on the road for about 3 weeks in a row now as you're closing up, and you're doing that. Is it like trying to avoid fast food and 7,000 calories a day? What's sort of the things on the road where you're like, hey, I'm so monotonous and it's whatever, to where it just, obviously it's not home. So what's the toughest part of this?
Well, the toughest part of it is I'm on the road with Carl Lafferty a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So that guy loves to eat, and so I have to be really, really careful with him. But yeah, it's a grind. It's a fun grind. I mean, shoot, I'm watching baseball for a living and getting to recruit to this place, and so. It's a good grind. Being away from family, all of those things that's normal for a college coach in any sport is tough. But yeah, we go 3 weeks straight right now of on the road and evaluating and trying to tell kids how great Oxford and Ole Miss is and are. But yeah, it's just focus on the future. And, we do it so young now that you're trying to evaluate a 15-year-old and decide if he can be a three-hole hitter in the SEC, which good luck with that. But, trying to develop relationships and go out and find players.
What is the youngest game you've watched where you thought, what am I doing now? Where have I been?
I've watched a 14U game this past weekend, to where I was sitting in the stands and I almost felt dirty. Just felt like, what am I doing here? I almost wanted to take off the Ole Miss polo and just act like a dad there, so no one would be like, are you serious? There's some pretty good 14-year-old players. But again, that's just the nature of college
my pain, because that kid commits and they go, hey, are you calling him? When I'm not calling a 14-year-old. I refuse. I don't care.
It's gotten a little bit out of control when you talk to a kid about, hey, when can you make it to campus? And he's got to figure out when mom and dad can drive him to campus. So, when kids are committed to us longer than they play for us, the model is a little bit broken. But in all honesty, if you're not doing it, you're falling behind the eight ball. And so it's the nature of our business. We're all guilty of it, but it is what it is. Go out and find players, and you try to get players from the best families and try to really see character, because that's how they develop into really.
This could be a really short answer because it's the last thing, but as this thing is going on and on, getting more competitive, college baseball is getting bigger and more money is going into it. Are you getting more out of the gentleman's agreement mold, or they're starting to be more recruiting on kids committed and different things, or where's that sort of at right now?
We're probably, yes, is the short answer to that question. There's a little bit more of
tampering,
I guess, the football mold, where people are decommitting and all of that. But oddly enough, it's still a gentleman's agreement.
Pretty solid.
It's pretty solid. Especially if you look at the scope of all of college athletics. I would say our sport, and I don't know all the sports as well as I know, football and basketball, but I would say our sport probably still holds up that gentleman's agreement pretty well.
It's in some ways, it's kind of nuclear destruction if you don't, because not only are you trying to get everybody else's kids, you're trying to protect your own kids. So there's a quality of life element when you've only got what we talk about the third coach rule this year, you only got 2 full-time assistants.
No question.
It would be chaos if you were trying to take care of all your guys and go get somebody else's guys.
No question. I don't know how you would do it, and that's why we tell our guy, when kids call us and commit, we tell them, hey, your word is stronger than any, autograph you could put on a piece of paper, just to try to solidify that, hey, don't commit to us if this isn't what you want to do. And so we try to drive that home so we don't have mass chaos, because we're trying to recruit 3, sometimes 4 different classes, and if we're trying to keep our own 35 commitments inside those 4 classes or whatever it is at any given time, plus go out and get more guys and recruit other people's commitments, it turns into an absolute mess, and I'd have way more gray hair than I already do.
Appreciate the time.
You bet. Thanks, Chase.
Our thanks to Mike Clement for joining us on the program. It's a program that is also brought to you by Oxford University Bank. OUB will be hosting the 6th annual Oxford University Bank 2-person scramble this weekend, June 29th and 30th, at the Ole Miss Golf Course. Entry into the tournament's $225 per player. This includes 2 days of golf, cart, lunch both days, breakfast both days, beverages on the course, and a Calcutta dinner, where each golfer gets to +1 to the dinner. OUB usually has around $40,000 in the Calcutta. The tournament usually pays out flights at a rate of 3-2-1. This year, all of the proceeds are going to the Sherry Buford Memorial Scholarship. She is a former educator here in Oxford who was killed in a drunk driving accident in 2018. The scholarship will benefit a graduating senior from both Oxford and Lafayette High School. So it's a great cause. I think Sherry taught both of my girls, so they loved her. Most of the kids in Oxford who had her did. So OUBGolfTournament.com, or give Gant Boone a call at 662-234-6668. The podcast also brought to you by Scoopers Pet Waste Removal, LLC. Everyone loves their pets, but no one really likes to step in their pet stuff, and tracking that stuff back into the house is no fun. So get in touch with Scoopers, and for $10 a cleaning, they'll clean up your yard. They'll do it on your schedule, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or a one-time service. No contracts required. You can cancel at any time. If you have multiple dogs, it's just $2 for each additional dog. So if you own a home, a condo, or an apartment complex in Oxford and you'd like to deal with a lot less crap, call Scoopers, 662-506-2754, or send them an email, scoopers.oxfordpetwaste@gmail.com, to get your cleanings scheduled today. And we're brought to you by 7 South Tailgating. Football season getting closer, and 7 South offers packages for any budget, any party size, any number of games needed. Whether you're coming to one game, all 7, or somewhere in between, they can schedule and build a tailgating package to suit your needs and your budget. If you prefer to use your own personal tailgating gear, they'll store, maintain, clean, and repair that gear as needed throughout the season. If you prefer to rent some or all of your gear from 7 South, they offer many colors, types, and sizes to choose from. So give them a call or go online today for a detailed quote customized to your specific needs. It is 662-321-1682, or visit 7southtailgating.com.
See, Bob Lee is retiring from ESPN. He puts that on Twitter this morning.
Man, he's been forever.
40 years-ish, I think. Yeah, across 40 years. He joined ESPN its first weekend of existence in 1979.
Wow.
Yeah. So 40 years there with him. Kumar Rocker came through again last night.
Shock.
Shut down Michigan. Game 3 for all the marbles tonight between the Doors and the Wolverines.
Kumar Rocker has big league stuff.
Yeah. Friedman put out a bunch of stuff last night with some overlays, and it was.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's impressive. He's got the right demeanor. It's all there. So
I know that physics say that the ball can't rise. I get it.
He looks like it does. That's
From that catcher view,
yeah.
it looks like the damn thing's rising.
Last night was a tough one for Michigan to swallow because they got really good pitching, unsure of what to do, and they lose a game in which they held Martin Blade and somebody else in their lineup to 0 for 9. Probably not going to happen again. So just if you're Vanderbilt, you got to feel pretty good tonight.
If you're Michigan, you got to feel like you probably lost your chance.
Yeah, you feel like you probably weren't going to beat Rocker, but
yeah. And on the flip side, that was the game that you probably knew.
Yeah,
Game 2.
This was a tough one.
Yeah.
So we'll see. my advice: throw some left-handers because Vanderbilt just annihilates right-handed pitching. That's the tip of the day there for the Wolverines. Anyway, rebelgrove.com, a lot of stuff going on there. Neil's mailbag, as he mentioned at some point, and then plenty of recruiting. It's finally probably about to slow down a little bit, but it's still coming. More commits. Yeah, even another one yesterday as well. So a lot going on the site at rebelgrove.com. We'll be back tomorrow with another podcast. Again, no podcast Friday, and then we will update you about our schedule next week when we visit with you again on Monday. So, talk to you tomorrow.